We hear so often of Russia claiming moral superiority, and so I think it's rather important that stories like this come out beneath the rhetorical smog of traditional values and orthodox crusading. And I'm telling this story as an Orthodox Christian myself. Russia has been quietly perpetuating a grotesque violation of international norms. The exploitation of foreign nationals, especially Africans, as cannon fodder in its faltering war against Ukraine. Far from any vision of Eurasian solidarity, this is a tale of deceit, of coercion, and of death. It's one where Africa's young men are lured into war zones with the promise of shampoo factory jobs, only to wake up in the trenches of Donetsk. Vladimir Putin claims Russia stands as a moral counterweight to the decadent West, but as the exiled philosopher Alexei Zavoronkov rightly notes, these so-called values are not philosophical but propagandistic, a smokescreen for imperial ambition. And the intellectual figure often cited behind this narrative is Alexander Dugin, the self-styled philosopher. Dugin promotes a messianic Russia, the Novorussia, that must destroy in order to save. His pseudo-theory, the fourth political theory, is an incoherent blend of fascism, spiritualism, and anti-liberal bile, and in practice it serves a regime that fears thought, silences academics, and sends the poor to die. I think this is a time to speak plainly about the new imperialism. This is neo-colonialism in uniform. In cities from Yaoundé to Bamako, young men desperate for work are recruited with promises of legal jobs, education and citizenship. When they arrive in Russia, they're detained, stripped of their passports, and strong-armed into military service. In the case of Richard Kanu from Sierra Leone, they are told, often at gunpoint, that what they signed was a military contract. Some are students threatened with visa cancellations unless they enlist. Others, like Samuel from the Cameroon, realized too late that the promised salary came with a one-way ticket to the front. And his account, hiding among corpses to escape drones, losing childhood friends to Russian shellfire, is searing testimony to systematic betrayal. Russia claims that 3,344 foreign nationals have been granted citizenship for service in the military. But these are not volunteers. A recent report by Bloomberg reveals that African students on visas are being detained and offered a grotesque ultimatum: fight or be deported. Some bribe their way out, many cannot. They're thrown into human wave assaults without equipment, without training, without hope. The Africans go forward, said one Cameroonian. The Russians stay behind with jamming equipment and better armor. We are the bait. Ukrainian estimates suggest that Russia may be losing over 1,000 troops a day, and many of these losses are foreign. This isn't simply a military scandal. It's a legal and a moral outrage, and we should be shouting about it. The use of coerced labour, especially under false pretences and without informed consent, is a textbook violation of the Geneva Conventions. And what is perhaps more sickening is the complicity of silence. Embassies turn away from their own citizens. Governments like Cameroon's, fearing domestic fallout, disown the men who left. No more Africans should come here to die, says Samuel, and yet the flights continue. The factories, many producing Iranian drones, continue to hire young women under false pretenses. They are injured when those same factories are bombed by Ukrainian retaliation. Putin's Russia has become a Frankenstein's empire of grift and war. At home, its jails are full of dissidents, and it rewrites the constitution. Abroad, it recruits from prisons, from slums, from student hostels. This is not patriotism, this is piracy. This is not moral conservatism, but moral collapse. And we shouldn't be misled by the Kremlin's rhetoric about the West's hypocrisy. Western imperialism is real and still scars Africa, but Russia is now mimicking its worst traits, with none of its self-criticism. This is what a dying empire looks like, shorn of ideals, scrounging for bodies in Yaoundé and Donetsk alike. Its war machine runs not on ideology or patriotism, but on lies, coercion, and desperation. And if we are to speak of values, we need to start by naming the truth. Russia is waging war not just on Ukraine, but on truth, on trust, on every young African it tricks into its slaughterhouse.